When you play through Plants vs Zombies a second time, Crazy Dave gives you 3 random plants each level. Usually you can just use the rest of the seed slots to beat the levels like usual, but what if you can't? What if you only have one other seed slot that you can choose? For the first day level I got Split Pea, Cherry Bomb and 3-peter. I could have brought Sunflower and used Split Peas and 3-peters, but I don't like Split Pea, so instead I brought Starfruit knowing that it could solo the level. It was fairly simple, but it's the first level. The second day level gave me Cabbage Pult, Marigold and Torchwood. This time I did bring Sunflower because I didn't want to just repeat the same setup as last level. Cabbage Pult spam proved effective against the level, and the second day was complete. On the third day level I got Cactus, Pumpkin and Starfruit. Even though I had an alternative and had used Starfruit already, I didn't want to use Cactus, instead spamming Starfruit with the aid of Sunflower. The fourth day level was the first to give me an interesting combination: Torchwood, Split Pea and 3-peter. I could spam Sunflowers in the early game and place last minute Split Peas to deal with early zombies. Split Pea has the same efficiency as Repeater when attacking from behind, so it was a quick and cheap early option for the first zombies. I then began to set up 3-peters, getting over a column of them before I started with Torchwoods. These easily cleared through the rest of the level. The fifth day level gave me Walnuts and Exploder Nuts, but this level doesn't change, so it's not interesting. The sixth day level gave me Cherry Bomb, Cabbage Pult and Split Pea. I picked Sunflower, and once again Cabbage Pult proved to be effective. On day level 7 I got Marigold, Coffee Bean and Walnut, so once again I had to choose Starfruit spam. On day level 8 I got Cherry Bomb, Squash and Cabbage Pult, so again I chose Sunflower and spammed cabbages. The ninth day level was probably the most interesting so far. I got Chomper, Garlic and Walnut, and while I could have probably breezed through it with Starfruit once again, I chose to bring Sunflower and to use Chompers as my main damage output. This started with stalling the first zombie with a Walnut while I gathered Sun, and when the second zombie arrived I took it out with the first Chomper. I continued to spam Sunflowers in order to have enough Sun to spam Chompers later on. I managed to get 2 columns up for the first flag, which easily dealt with it, and by the second flag I had 5 columns set up. After this though, the Chompers began having difficulty keeping up with the quantity of zombies that the game was sending. I used a couple of Garlics here and there to move the zombies into optimal lanes, and when the final wave came, I had to use 3 lawnmowers because my defense was so destroyed. Day level 10 was standard, and that rounds off the first of 5 parts of this challenge. Overall it was pretty easy, but the difficulty is sure to skyrocket soon enough. For the first night level, I had to use Puff Shroom because I got Garlic, Torchwood and Potato Mode. Luckily, with it being the first level, this wasn't too much of an issue. The zombies didn't even get close to taking out my first lawnmower. The second night level gave me 3-peter, Split Pea and Tall Nut. I wasn't sure whether Puff Shroom was going to be able to beat the Bucketheads, so I chose Sun Shroom. The early game was slow and I had to sacrifice many lawnmowers, but I ended up using the Split Pea to attack a newspaper zombie from behind, and realised that it didn't break the newspaper, which should have been obvious, but somehow I didn't realise that it worked. By the time I was able to get down 3-peters, I had lost 4 lawnmowers, but after that my defense was strong enough to deal with the waves of zombies, with the assistance of Tall Nut. On night level 3 I got Snow Pea, Pumpkin and Fume Shroom. I brought Sunshroom again, and Fume Shroom ended up being cheap enough to be usable against the third zombie that spawned, even when I had spent most of my sun on Sunshroom spam. Once Coneheads started appearing, I had to find some better ways to deal with them because Fume Shroom's damage is subpar. For the first, I got another Fume Shroom in a Pumpkin, and for the second, I got a Snow Pea. Continuing this defense ended up easily getting through the level. On the fourth night level I got Spikeweed, Scaredy Shroom and Tallnut. Scaredy Shroom was a very lucky selection because like Puff Shroom it is incredibly cheap and has the damage of a pea shooter. With Scaredy Shroom I was able to take out the first basic zombies with ease, and with the assistance of Spikeweeds and Tallnuts the Coneheads went down without difficulty either. From there I got a column of Tallnuts and started to fill the screen with Spikeweeds, which could easily deal with the screen door zombies, as well as dealing with crowds much better than Scaredy Shroom. After that, one more column of Scaredy Shrooms was all I needed before the level was complete. On night level 5 I got Potato Mine, Gravebuster and Cherry Bomb. I chose Mallet, which was able to deal considerable damage to the zombie waves for no extra cost, as well as producing extra sun. I then bought Gravebusters to create some zombie clusters, and the last wave could be defeated with perfectly timed Cherry Bomb. Night level 6 gave me Starfruit, Squash and Cabbage Pulp. The level didn't have any screen door zombies, so Cabbage Sport spam wasn't going to be important. Instead I used Starfruits, using Squash to deal with early game Coneheads and getting 4 columns up by the final wave. The 6th night level gave me Split Pea, Squash and Jalapeno. I was tempted to bring Puff Shroom because Split Pea is mediocre and the others are both instas. In the end, I realised that Football Zombie was too big of a threat for Puff Shroom spam, so again I brought Sunshroom. The first 2 zombies spawned in the same lane, so I could take them out with a single lawnmower. And by the time the third zombie arrived, I had enough sun to take it out from behind with a Split Pea, in much the same way I did on day level 4. I continued to use Split Peas to take out the early zombies, and Squashes to deal with the ones Split Pea couldn't handle. I knew that a single column of Split Peas wasn't going to be nearly enough for the late game, and so because of this almost full row of graves, I had to sacrifice symmetry for damage. Even with 3 columns of Split Peas, screen door zombies were still a pain, and almost always had to be taken out with a Squash. At the second flag I had to incinerate the bottom row because there were 2 full health screen doors, and my Squash was on cooldown. This meant that when a screen door spawned protecting 2 Coneheads in the middle row, I had to use Squash, leaving those 2 Coneheads to eat through my defense. Jalapeno came back up at the same time as Squash, but luckily I didn't need them for the middle lane because of Split Pea firing backwards. I did however need Squash for the bottom lane where another screen door had spawned protecting 2 Coneheads. This time the Squash took out the Coneheads, but the screen door managed to eat through all but one of my Split Peas. Football Zombie then spawned in my now totally unguarded bottom row, and with my Squash on cooldown I had to use a Jalapeno. I probably could have waited for my Squash to come back up, but I didn't want to risk it in case I needed either insta for the final wave. I ended up needing an insta not too long after when a Conehead and a basic zombie got right outside my defences after being protected by a screen door zombie. The bottom lane had another screen door zombie protecting some basic zombies, but I was able to take them out from behind. Just before the final wave, I got a Squash in the middle lane to protect it, because it was the only one without a lawnmower. I neglected to account for the fact that the grave right next to it was going to spawn a basic or Conehead zombie, which would waste the Squash. The same lane also spawned a Football zombie, so I was forced to use a Jalapeno as well, which meant that the screen door zombie in the top lane could get by without much resistance and take out a lawnmower. Squash took out the final Conehead of what was probably the hardest level so far. It seemed to be a wise choice to bring Sunshroom instead of Puff Shroom, because even with instas and Split Peas, it was still a struggle. Night level 8 gave me 3-peater, Spikeweed and Fume Shroom. As on level 3, I took out the third zombie with a Fume Shroom. I didn't have pumpkins or snow peas, so I had to double up on Fume Shrooms when Coneheads spawned, which led to 2 zombies sneaking by in the top row and taking out a third lawnmower. Once I had 3 columns of Fume Shrooms up, nothing could even get close to getting by, but I still chose to get some 3-peters just to help, mostly for the graves in the bottom row. Night level 9 gave me Starfruit, Walnut and Melon Pulp. I brought Sunshroom once again, and once the second zombie came in, I decided to try to stall it with a Walnut, hoping that I would be able to save for a Starfruit early and only leak 1 lawnmower. This was unsuccessful, as not only did the third zombie just waltz on by as I tried to save up, but the zombie behind the walnut managed to completely eat through it and take out a lawnmower alive. So in the end, I lost 3 lawnmowers and was very down in sun production because I got ahead of myself. I only just managed to get a single column of Starfruits up by the first flag zombie. After that, it became quite a bit easier. I had 3 columns of Sunshrooms and was able to start setting up Melon Pulse to deal with the late game, and I managed to breeze through the second half. Night level 10 is a conveyor belt level, and so after that, night was complete. Definitely a step up from day, but still fairly manageable. After this though, I can't imagine how difficult fog will be. The first pool level gave me starfruit, coffee bean and tall nut. While neither coffee bean nor tall nut were going to be particularly useful, the fact that starfruit could hit zombies in the pool was excellent. I didn't even need to plant in the pool, and with the help of sunflower, starfruit could breeze through the level. Let's hope this is a positive sign of things to come. The second pool level gave me marigold, cherry bomb and jalapeno. It was still the second level, so I picked starfruit, which was able to easily get through 2 flags, but after that things started going downhill. A buckethead and a football zombie took out 2 of my lawnmowers, destroying half of my defense. Another buckethead broke through my entire defense, almost reaching my lawnmower before I used jalapeno. A conehead took out a pool cleaner. I lost my other lawnmowers and pool cleaners, and the zombies managed to get through, leading to the first loss of the game. That defense was clearly not going to be able to beat the rest of the levels, so I reset for better plant selection RNG. This time I got snow pea, 3-peter and starfruit, a much better selection as I was able to choose sunflower and ended up with far more starfruits than I had on the first attempt, in addition to having snow pea fruit slow against stronger zombies. With no lawnmowers lost, this wasn't too bad. On pool level 3 I got kernel pulp, chomper and squash. This would have been a horrible selection against almost any other level, but this is the introductory level to Snorkel Zombie, whose ability to avoid projectiles is nullified by lobbing plants like kernel pulp. I picked lily pad, and with 3 columns of kernel pulp and squash to take out tougher zombie clusters, I only lost 1 pool cleaner on the final wave. Unfortunately, this is where my luck would run out. The first selection for pool level 4 was pumpkin, snow pea and split pea. With no starfruit, I was going to have to get lily pad, but with no sunflower, I would hardly be able to get up a column of snow peas in 3 waves. There was just no way I was going to be able to beat the level with this selection. And so, I started resetting, until I got spikeweed, 3-peter and melon pulp. While spikeweed is hardly an effective damage source, and the other 2 are very expensive, by sacrificing an early lawnmower, I was able to get up a 3-peter, which covered half the lanes on its own. 3-peters were very effective until the snorkel zombies appeared. I was hoping up until this point that if I had enough 3-peters, I could take out the snorkel zombies before they jumped in the water and hid from the peas. Unfortunately, this turned out not to work. The snorkel zombies could get past my defense without issue, and I had to reset for better plans. I eventually landed on jalapeno, starfruit and tangle kelp. I figured, naively, that if I had enough starfruits I would just be able to beat the snorkel zombies before they jumped in the water, and for the ones I couldn't, that I could just use tangle kelp. I was able to get up a lot of starfruits, but once again I couldn't beat the snorkel zombies with projectiles. The snorkel zombies came too frequently to use tangle kelp for all of them, and I lost again. I tried the level again, this time picking lily pad instead of sunflower. The early game was harder and I actually lost a lawnmower to this pole vaulter. I really thought that this would work, but like in pool level 2, bucketheads were just too much for my defense. So I went back to resetting. I went through many combinations, at one point trying to use pea shooter spam, to no avail, until I perhaps got the luckiest combination yet. Melon pulp, torchwood and sunflower just meant that I needed to bring lily pad, and after leaking 2 lawnmowers to build my sun production, melon pulp swept through the level easily. Pool level 6 gave me lily pad, coffee bean and split pea, which I reset because while lily pad was lucky, split pea was mediocre damage. After resetting, I got starfruit, kernel pulp and walnut. I picked sunflower and starfruit spam easily beat the level. The 7th pool level gave me cabbage pulp, melon pulp and garlic. The presence of Zomboni made this not worth attempting. After resetting many times, I got sunflower, split pea and squash. I had to choose lily pad, and the mediocrity of split pea meant that I would have to use squash for every Zomboni. Or so I thought. 6 columns of split peas was actually able to deal with Zombonis pretty well, which means that resetting on the previous level may not have actually been necessary. In any case, pool level 7 went down without issue. Pool level 8 introduced Dolphin Rider, and there was just no way that Repeater, Tangle Kelp and Walnut were going to stand a chance. After resetting I got Torchwood, Lilypad and Starfruit. Picking Sunflower, this level was a piece of cake, with Starfruit spam being very effective. The 9th pool level gave me 3-Peter, Coffee Bean and Cactus. Snorkel Zombie wasn't present in this level, but the Dolphin Riders were still scary. They're the fastest zombies in the game, and I would be unable to stall them if I went for Sunflower. I picked Sunflower anyway, and immediately found out that 3-Peter's Peas can't all hit the same zombie. Not to worry, after restarting, I used Cactus to deal with early zombies, replacing them with 3-Peters or Sunflowers when needed later on. Before the first flag, a Buckethead spawned in the bottom pool lane, which only had a single 3-Peter defending it at first, and although I did plant another, it wasn't enough, and I lost a pool cleanup. This meant that if a single zombie got to the end of this lane, I was dead. I got down more 3-Peters, and was very relieved to see that 5 was enough to beat a single Dolphin Rider. I didn't want to risk it in case the zombies ate my 3-Peters or protected the Dolphin Riders, however, so I continued setting up 3-Peters, with 6 in the middle 2 lanes, before I started getting them on the outer lanes to help against Zombonis to protect my inner 3-Peters from getting crushed. Remember what I said before about 3-Peters not hitting the same zombie twice? Well, that actually ended up being very important, when a zombie bobsled team managed to get right in front of my 5th 3-Peter, and the 3-Peter was still able to hit the incoming Dolphin Rider. Every time a Dolphin Rider spawned in the lower pool lane, I would be terrified, but luckily none managed to get to the end. At the final wave, the only Dolphin Rider spawned in the upper lane, and was promptly taken out. The level was completed with only one pool cleaner lost. The 10th pool level was once again the same, and so now I've beaten the pool with only one seed slot besides Dave's suggestions. The night and pool have both been very difficult so far, so I imagine the fog will be even worse. The first fog level gave me Melonpult, Doomshroom and Blover. The first fog level gave me Seashroom, Cabbage Pult and Marigold. I chose Puffshroom, and with it being the first level, spamming Seashroom and Puffshroom was easily enough to get through. The second fog level gave me a very lucky combination: Plantain, Scaredy-Shroom and Sunflower. I leaked a few lawnmowers early on to be able to get up decent sun production, after which Scaredy-Shroom was easily enough to beat early zombies, with Plantain also clearing out the fog. Football zombies were a bit threatening, but in low amounts they were pretty manageable. The level went down pretty easily. The third fog level gave me Cactus, Hypnoshroom and Lilypad. Another lucky combo. I was able to pick Sunshroom, and early zombies could be taken out with Hypnoshroom. Once I had decent sun production, Cactus Spam was easily enough to beat the level. The fourth fog level gave me Hypnoshroom, Starfruit and Chomper. Balloon Zombie meant that I needed Blover, Cactus or Cattail, but because I also needed sun production, I reset. After an hour of resetting, I got cactus, sunflower, and cabbage pulp. Choosing lily pad, this became the first combination when I could plant in water and have a damage dealing plant that could take out balloon zombies. But with nothing strong for the early game, this still looked like it could be a struggle, especially with sunflower instead of sunshroom. After leaking all of my lawnmowers in the early game to build up sun, I was able to defend with cabbage pelts. I barely had 12 sunflowers though, and having to dig them up for cacti put more strain on my sun production. Thankfully, I was able to get up a column of cacti and started getting up more cabbages, as they are cheaper for the same firepower. Unfortunately, 2 columns of cabbages and 1 of cacti wasn't enough to deal with the dolphin zombies, who managed to get past. Determined not to give up on my first lucky combination, I tried again. This time, while I let myself leak every lawnmower and pool cleaner, no threatening zombies spawned at the first flag, and I was able to get up sunflowers to fill 4 columns of the land by the first flag. I ended up being too greedy however, and when I couldn't afford a cactus to defend, I let a balloon zombie slip by. It was clear that the second strategy of sacrificing lawnmowers and pool cleaners to greed sun was the way to go, but instead of going for cabbages, cacti would mean that balloon zombies wouldn't be an issue. I was able to gradually grow my defense, and by the final wave I had more than 4 columns of cacti, which were able to beat the level. I didn't know what I was doing in Vase Breaker, but it worked I guess, so success. Fog level 6 gave me Sunshroom, Torchwood, and Pumpkin. I picked Starfruit to target the pool lanes as well as to hit the digger zombies. After spamming Starfruit to fill the visible part of the land, I protected them with pumpkins and the level went down without issue. Fog level 7 gave me Blover, Torchwood, and Garlic. After resetting a couple of times, I got Starfruit, Lilypad, and Jalapeno. I chose Sunshroom and played the early game significantly worse than the previous level, but by the end, Starfruit spam didn't have any issues. Fog level 8 gave me Sunshroom, Magnet Shroom, and Hypno Shroom. Magnet Shroom was a lucky selection because this level introduced Pogo zombies, which Magnet Shroom could neutralize. Once again, Starfruit spam easily swept through the level. On Fog level 9 I got Marigold, Cactus, and Cherry Bomb. Cactus was the only good pick because this was the return of the balloon zombie, but there was no way I could beat the aquatic zombies and 4 damaging plants, so I had to reset. After a few resets, I got Blover, Plantain, and Sunshroom. I picked Starfruit, and using Plantain to light up the fog in the early game, I was able to see the zombies. By the end, they were irrelevant, because I was using Blover to get rid of balloon zombies anyway. The final wave was much harder than I thought, but thankfully, the lane with the pool cleaner was the only one that leaked zombies. The 10th level was the same again, and with that, fog is complete. Honestly, easier than I thought. It was more luck based than pool, but I was expecting to lose more often even with good combinations. Starfruit spam could beat basically any level thrown at it, but all of that is about to change. The first roof level gave me Sunflower, Starfruit, and Pea Shooter. Starfruit and Pea Shooter both suck on the roof, so I picked Cabbage Pulp. Pea Shooter was actually useful because I could plant it on the last column pots, where it could attack the rest of the lane. But the cabbages were the most important part of the defense. 3 columns of them and the level was done. The second roof level gave me Garlic, Snow Pea, and Tall Nut. After a couple of resets I got Kernel Pulp, 3-peater, and Squash. Kernel Pulp was able to clump the zombies together for Squash to take out strong groups, and the level was fairly simple. The third roof level gave me Cactus, Tall Nut, and Kernel Pulp. I chose Sunflower, but at this point the flower pots were in such limited supply that I was only able to get up 2 columns of Kernel Pots while retaining sun production. I sacrificed my sunflowers for more damage, and while the final wave didn't spawn any zombies in the lanes where I'd lost roof cleaners, the bungee zombies did, forcing me to restart. Clearly Kernel Pulp wasn't going to be enough. After resetting a few times I got pea shooter, repeater and melon pulp. I picked sunflower, but without flower pots the early game was going to be very tight. If I lost or flower pots, I was dead. After a zombie ate a repeater, I was forced to restart. After getting 4 sunflowers, I was able to save for 2 repeaters for the first 2 zombies, after which I got another sunflower. I then managed to get a 3rd repeater for the 3rd zombie before I had to start saving for a melon pulp for the conehead. I was able to get 2 more repeaters for the next 2 basic zombies, but the conehead in the middle lane was able to get through without much resistance. I started again, but this time I was too greedy in the early game and ended up losing a repeater to a basic zombie. After restarting, I tried out with 4 sunflowers followed by a repeater. This time I got a 5th sunflower immediately instead of going for a 2nd repeater. I was able to easily afford a 2nd repeater before going in for a 6th sunflower. I was then able to get a 3rd repeater just in time for the 3rd zombie, as well as one for the 4th. The 5th zombie took out a flower pot, but from there a repeater was able to take it out. Having spent far more sunflowers this time, I was able to get a melon pulp for the conehead again, this time replacing the lane's repeater with a sunflower to assist my sun production even more. After this, the game was basically over for the zombies. I was able to continue setting up melon pulps with my much stronger sun production, and I had 2 columns up by the end. Roof level 4 gave me split pea, kernel pulp and sunflower. I picked flower pot and was able to easily breeze through the early game with sunflower and kernel pulp spam. Pogo zombies were scary, but manageable, and I was able to get up 5 columns of kernel pulps by the 2nd flag. Not even football zombies stood a chance. At the 3rd flag, I somehow lost a roof cleaner to a pogo zombie, but my defense was strong enough for this not to be an issue. You know what was an issue? A pair of football zombies taking out my entire top row. At this point my defense was struggling hard. I had very few sunflowers to rebuild my defense, and the final wave took me out. If 5 columns of kernel pots weren't enough to beat the level, it was clear that I would have to reset. After several resets, I got 3-peter, sunflower and cabbage pulp. Choosing flower pot, the damage from the plants I got was clearly going to be much stronger. Cabbage pulp's base damage is stronger than kernels, and while 3-peter wouldn't work on the slope section of the roof, it would work on the flat area where I could do triple damage. Spamming cabbages and 3-peters, I was able to win without losing any roof cleaners. Roof 5 was the same as usual. Roof 6 gave me snow pea, tall nut and jalapeno. After a few resets I got kernel pulp, pumpkin and melon pulp. After using kernel pulps for the early game, I was able to switch them out to melon pulps when stronger zombies appeared. By keeping my sunflowers at the back, I could use them to absorb damage from the catapult zombies. 2 columns of melon pulps and the level was complete. The 7th roof level gave me umbrella leaf, cherry bomb and coffee bean. After resetting twice, I got potato mine, kernel pulp and sunflower. Without football zombie to screw me up, kernel pulp spam got its time to shine, annihilating the zombies with ease. The 8th roof level gave me jalapeno, kernel pulp and marigold. For whatever reason, I thought the jalapeno was going to be able to deal with all of the gargantuas with only 2 columns of kernel pulps. It couldn't. After resetting a couple of times, I got flower pot, melon pulp and repeater. I chose sunflower, and unlike the last time I had melon pulp and repeater, I didn't have to use repeater for every early zombie. I still did for some, though I let coneheads pass through in order to not spend 300 sun on melon pulps. After leaking 2 roof cleaners, I got a column of melon pulps up, and was able to spam as much as I wanted, getting almost 4 columns up by the final wave. Roof level 9, the last level of the challenge. I had to deal with gargantuas, bungee zombies, catapult zombies, ladder zombies, and jack-in-the-box zombies. Neither starfruit spam nor cabbage pulp was going to work here. After many resets I got split pea, flower pot and 3-peter. While pea plants suck on the roof, 3-peter was strong enough to deal with zombies on the flat portion of the roof, giving me a lot of room to spam sunflowers. Unfortunately, by the 3rd flag it wasn't enough, and I ended up letting an entire gargantua fight. After more resets I got coffee bean, melon pulp and sunflower. Without anything for the early game I leaked 3 roof cleaners, but after that I could spam melon pulp to my heart's content, beating the zombies with ease and finishing the final level of the challenge. Dr. Zomboss doesn't change, so this means the challenge is complete. It started out pretty easy, but worked up in difficulty. I was expecting Rift to be hard, but it ended up being harder than I expected. All in all, a good challenge, although resetting could get tedious at times.